Hello, my name's Dominic Frisby, and today we're looking at the very serious problem of wealth inequality. Here are the top 10 causes. At 10, the tax code. It's too complicated and it never stops growing. A few rich companies and individuals have the resources to find the loopholes and then exploit them. Most don't, and so pay more on a proportional basis. Simplify it! At 9, making the interest on debt tax deductible. It just encourages more debt instead of equity. Debt pushes up prices, and today's debt makes life more expensive for tomorrow's young. The rich use the tax deductibility of interest against assets. Why can't the poor use it against APR? At 8, government subsidy, which creates special interest groups, lobbying and market distortion. Even something like agricultural subsidy. You sympathise with the hard-pushed farmer meme. Meanwhile, the landowner is actually paid to own farmland, and he avoids paying inheritance tax on it. So everyone who can buys farmland, and the price gets pushed up. It's a straight transfer of wealth from the taxpayer to the landowner. At 7, quantitative easing and bank bailouts. They're just another subsidy. Why should finance receive special favour? And who actually voted for QE? No one! Central banks are unelected bodies. At 6, zero interest rate policies. Make debt cheap to service and asset prices, especially house prices, get pushed up until they become unaffordable. At 5, onerous planning laws, which again, only the few can afford to navigate, mean that house building has become the preserve of large companies and large companies only. I'd love to build my own house, wouldn't you? Tough luck, mate. At 4, a controversial one, income tax. If you have nothing, the only way you can narrow the gap between you and those at the top is by working, but you are constantly and heavily taxed on your labour. Meanwhile, the wealth of those at the top, which doesn't derive from labour, but from assets such as land, debt and companies, goes largely untaxed. Of course the wealth gap will widen. Don't tax labour. Tax something else, like land. At 3, our debt-based system of money. 97% of money is created by banks when they lend. What a power to have. When that money gets spent, those nearby benefit. If you own the assets or you operate in the sectors that benefit from this newly created money, the financial sector and the London property in which it mostly lives, you've made spectacular gains. But if you didn't, you got left behind. At 2, not measuring inflation properly. In the 35 years since 1971, the money supply has gone up by 67 times. But official inflation, CPI, tracks only the 10% of it that has gone into consumer goods. It ignores the 77% that has gone into financial markets and property, which means that house and other asset prices are able to rise unchecked. Duh! Basic! And at 1, it's the money system again. The purchasing power of money has fallen by 99% in the last 100 years. Yes, by 99%, with average falls of 5% a year. If you own the right kind of assets, you've been protected, but those relying on savings or salaries... See ya! While all the items on this list create wealth inequality, the order in which they appear is subject to debate. There are also many other government policies which create inequality. For example, pension systems, the banning of council tax, inheritance tax or untapered capital gains tax, which have not been mentioned in the interests of time. There is a great deal of crossover between many of the items on the list, the combined force of which exacerbates inequality even further. All of these causes of inequality are within the power of governments to fix. That they don't is their failure. Ultimately, wealth is created by work and endeavour, not by reallocation and redistribution. Yet we penalise labour and subsidise debt and the ownership of assets. All that is required is a level playing field for everyone. Simple, equal tax systems which don't pander to special interest groups and independent money would fix most of the above.